Watcher 1 to Bravo 07. You in position?
Nearly there.
Welcome back to GamesRadar. I'm Matt Phillips, and I'm joined by our UK managing editor, Josh West, who has been playing Call of Duty non-stop. We did a review in progress. We now have the full review on site. Give us your top-line thoughts. How is Call of Duty this year?
Yeah, Modern Warfare 2 is brutal and utterly unrelenting. It's obviously a sequel to 2019's Modern Warfare from Infinity Ward, a sort of reimagining spiritual successor, I suppose, to 2009's Modern Warfare 2. The naming is very confusing, but the game itself is, absolutely fantastic. It's sort of building on those core foundations that IW laid down in 2019, and the result is sort of a slower, more purposeful shooter than Vanguard or Black Ops Cold War.
Yeah, absolutely. I played through the campaign alongside you, kind of, and I was blown away by it. Like, I haven't been playing that many Call of Duty games in the lead up to this, and so it felt really fresh and unique to me. But I know the 2019 Modern Warfare kind of reboot, if you like, was loved by a lot of people. And so how do you feel like the story in the campaign follows on from that 2019 game and then builds on the franchise as a whole?
Yeah, something that's always really fascinated me about the Call of Duty campaigns is they always have a different flavor. Like, the Black Ops games, some of the Sledgehammer games kind of feel like almost like Bond movies. Infinity Ward through the Modern Warfare games and the others they've done have always felt kind of like they're like a Black Hawk Down, or the 2019 reboot was a bit grittier. Maybe, I think they always said Catherine Bigelow's Hurt Locker was a big inspiration. And this Modern Warfare 2 doesn't really feel like any of those. It kind of feels a bit bigger. I don't want to say it's Michael Bay-esque, because I think that maybe does it a disservice, but it's this really big adventure that doesn't really, settle. It kind of keeps moving. It introduces a lot of different ideas, a lot of different themes, and it's just fun. I think, there were issues with the 2019 Modern Warfare, as fun as it was and as revolutionary as it was in some aspects. There were problematic areas like the sort of quick time event torture sections, which weren't great. There's none of that this time. I think they've learned some really key lessons, and they've just kind of gone bigger and better. Like, I don't know how you found it, Matt, but I really enjoyed, the new version of Safe House, which is kind of how this campaign opens, which is a sort of reimagining of 2019 Modern Warfare's best mission. And it does that a couple of times. Like, it's got a new All Gillied Up, it's got a new Death from Above, a couple of other favorites have sort of been reimagined, and as a result, it doesn't really do anything new. There's nothing in this campaign that you haven't really seen them try before, but it is fun. Like, it looks incredible as well. Like, COD games, sort of the equivalent video games industry of a summer blockbuster, but because of the budget, because of the talent behind these games, they also kind of showcase where the industry's moving in terms of fidelity and mechanics. And Modern Warfare 2 is potentially, if not certainly, one of the best looking games on next gen. Like, I reviewed it on the Xbox Series X. I've also played a little bit on PS5. I mean, it just looks stunning. Cutscenes are near photorealistic. The use of lighting and shadow draws just an unbelievable contrast in some of those missions. And honestly, there are parts where it was just kind of blown away a bit by how far these games have come in such a short period of time. So yeah, really impressed. I would have liked a little more ingenuity in the campaign, I think, just in terms of structure. Like, it's a Call of Duty campaign. Like, it doesn't really do anything different. It doesn't do anything as controversial as No Russian from Modern Warfare 2 back in 2009. And it doesn't do anything like Call of Duty World War 2 or Black Ops Cold War's more sort of inventive missions where you're sort of stripped of all weaponry and you're sort of left to infiltrate big sprawling campaign headquarters or offices and trying to sort of, infiltrate and receive intel and then get out without being detected. Those missions were always really interesting. There's nothing of that scale really here, which is a shame, but it is fun. I had a great time with it.
Yeah, I think echo everything you said, and I keep coming back to it's so much fun, right? And you said it several times then. It's so much fun. Like, everything comes back to it being fun. And I think you're spot on. This is one of the most beautiful games I've ever played, potentially. Like, Last of Us level cutscenes when you're looking at sort of facial expressions and the fidelity there in the cutscenes is absolutely phenomenal. And then, yeah, interestingly, you bring up, like, the lack of ingenuity, if you like, the lack of innovation in kind of the levels. They do try to do little things here and there, like there are crafting elements to some of these levels where you don't have many guns and you're building makeshift bombs. It just felt like that was maybe the least fun I was having in the game. That like those moments were the least fun for me. Still fun, still fine, but I kind of wish like, oh, I wish I was done with this now and I had a gun and I could just do the Call of Duty thing now.
I find those elements really interesting because there's a couple of missions where, as you said, they're more stealth focused, more character focused, but they do introduce a light resource management and crafting system. And there's nothing like that in multiplayer currently, which leads me to believe that, and Infinity Ward has not said this one way or the other, but I do wonder if those systems will play a role in Warzone 2 and DMZ mode, which they're yet to really detail, but that is a new sort of Escape from Tarkov style survival extraction mode.
Yeah.
Interesting ideas. I would like to have seen them maybe push that a bit more. Like, those sorts of things are usually laying a foundation for something else. So,
for sure,
you know, it'd be interesting to see where they take it next.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then we talked about it briefly in there, but I suppose we should move on to gameplay. Call of Duty has kind of reached a pinnacle, right? Like, it is the shooter that you want to be playing, or the shooter that everybody else is aspiring to be. Is it noticeably different from previous iterations to you as somebody who plays it every year religiously?
Yeah, so, you know, everyone has a different opinion on every Call of Duty game. For me, I loved 2019 Modern Warfare. I thought it was a genuine step forward for the franchise. I loved Warzone, and I kind of felt like Black Ops Cold War was a bit of a misfire, and Vanguard kind of felt like they were treading water, just trying to keep it together while they got Warzone 2 ready, got Modern Warfare 2 ready, and sort of started to drive the franchise forward in a new direction. So what you see with Modern Warfare 2 is a really smart iteration of that 2019 experience, but a bit more forceful in what it wanted to achieve. You get a sense of this in the campaign. It's really prominent in the multiplayer. Slow movement and really tight firing patterns are rewarded, and if you do anything else, you are usually punished. I think something that's really interesting about Modern Warfare 2 is just how quick the time to kill is. Encountering a player with a marksman rifle or even a pistol, let alone a shotgun, you know, it realistically is a couple of shots and you're dead.
Yeah.
Call of Duty, typically, if you register a couple of bullets, you kind of have a little window to get behind some cover or, you know, drop prone and try and throw them off. Here, it really is down to positioning and down to whether you're taking your chances. You know, if you randomly start blind firing at an enemy, they will just turn around and clock you. It's different, but I kind of like it. Like, it's not gone full simulation, you know, it's not Operation Flashpoint that's been like secretly snuck into COD.
Yeah.
But it is different, it is more strategic, you know, and an element of that means it is, or it can be, more frustrating. I think that's the sort of dichotomy of this, is when you're doing well, it's the greatest feeling ever, and when you're doing badly, it's the most frustrating game on planet Earth. And that pendulum swing is kind of what has kept me playing the multiplayer since it went live on October 28th, because, you know, I've always been an assault rifle and sniper rifle guy, and both of those weapon types feel absolutely fantastic in this game. So getting my head around those has been a lot of fun, but I'm also having to use a lot of weapon types that I don't really like due to the progression system and gunsmith system, which is not great.
Well, this is it. I wanted to chat to you about this because, like I said, I haven't really been playing religiously the latest Call of Duties. I'm sure I've dipped into them at launch, but I'm very confused by how I unlock weapons, how I unlock attachments for those weapons. It just seems overwhelmingly confusing to me. Is it just me? Are you finding this experience as well?
Yeah, Call of Duty traditionally has let you get access to guns by leveling up. You unlock weapons, and then you use those weapons, and by using the weapons, you unlock attachments for them.
Yeah.
Now, there is a frustrating grind to that, in a sense of, okay, I'm using the M16, I'm using the M4, I'm using the Growl, whatever it is, and I'm having to unlock the same attachments for different guns every time, and that gets a bit monotonous. So what Infinity Ward has tried to do is create distinct weapon platforms, and there's a mix and match element. So if you unlock a optic for one of the assault rifles, it will be available for all of the assault rifles. And you're like, okay, that's great. However, that does firstly mean that, you know, I got the M4 to max rank 20. Suddenly I'm looking through Gunsmith, and there's just so many attachments available now. Particularly on the first day, it was like, man, there's too much here for me to really even get my head around. There's one sniper rifle available at the start.
Yeah.
If you want to unlock more sniper rifles, you have to go through this tree of progression for weapon types. So that means to get more sniper rifles, I'd actually have to use marksman rifles and get a marksman rifle to a certain level, which will unlock a different marksman rifle, which if I then get that to a certain level, it will then unlock the next sniper rifle.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of it's like I personally don't like that system. I think it's way too confusing. I think it incentivizes grinding through weapons that you just do not like using. I just want to be able to play the game, get kills, get objectives, get angry when I'm dying and other people aren't playing the objectives, and eventually get enough progression through the ranking system to then get other guns. And then I'll find what guns I want to use. I don't really like being told, you have to do this to get these. It just feels antithetical to the amount of freedom that Call of Duty has always given people.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my feeling exactly, and I'm afraid I'm just being one of those old guys. Like, I remember back in the day when we had red dots and ACOGs, and that was it. And now I've got 20 different optic options, and I have no idea how to unlock any of them.
Do you know, it's interesting because there's also some weird omissions at launch, and you know we're expecting a lot of these to be patched in eventually, but Infinity Ward's only introduced 2 game modes for the core playlist, Knockout and Prisoner Rescue, and the sort of objective-based modes that don't really move the needle. You know, I'd much rather play Search and Destroy or Hardpoint or Domination. But there's no hardcore mode in at launch, which was, you know, a staple of the Modern Warfare games. It's called Tier 1, and it's coming November 16th alongside the Season 1 Battle Pass and Warzone 2. But also, and this is baffling, there is no way to check your KD ratio. There's no way to check global statistics, and it just feels really odd. You know, it's not Counter-Strike, it's not Overwatch 2 where like it's hyper competitive in that sort of global sense, but I've always found COD to be really competitive within friend groups, and I played, you know, thousands of hours of Warzone during lockdowns. It was something I played every night for 4 or 5 hours minimum with the same group of people, and the reason we kept going back to it is because we got in huge rows about who had the better KD.
Yeah.
And I'm in my 30s, and that's what we were doing when we were in our teens.
Yes.
However, there's something really evocative about that cycle of logging in and seeing, oh, you know, I was 1.6, 1.7, but now my buddy's gotten up to 1.8. Well, now I'm gonna have to spend all night grinding, you know, Rebirth Island out to improve that. That's the same with Modern Warfare 2. That's what I want to do. I want to see where I'm at, how I'm doing, and compare that to other people, either on a global or friend leaderboard. And it's just it's a weird omission. It's one of those things where the gameplay is fantastic and it's so much fun to play, but just some of the user experience around it is a little messy.
Yes, I totally agree with you, and I wonder if a lot of resources and thought has been put into Warzone 2, and maybe they were like, oh, well, the multiplayer can just get out there because actually we know everybody's going to be playing Warzone 2 in a couple of weeks, right? So has this game at least got you more excited for Warzone 2 and reliving all those lockdown memories?
Yeah, I mean, and to be clear, Modern Warfare 2 is great, and I really like a lot of the core changes, and it's those core changes particularly to movement. You know, Call of Duty's always taught us to lean on the left stick, sprint everywhere, reload as soon as you can, and sprint. And this game actively punishes you for that. Like the audio fidelity is almost, if not as good as the visual fidelity. Like footsteps are just omnidirectional, really prominent in the mix. Something that is going to be game-changing for Warzone. Al Mazrah, the new map, looks gorgeous in Warzone 2. And when you factor in sort of footsteps and proximity chat and the fact that weapons have a really fast time to kill, it just creates this really evocative mix of this battle royale that could really find some additional space around the competitors. You know, obviously Fortnite remains prominent, Apex Legends continues to be really pushed and updated, and Warzone has felt, as much as I love it, and I do still play it too much, but it has felt a little stagnant, and I think this is going to give it a real shot in the arm, you know, and I think that Modern Warfare 2 should be played and it should be respected for everything that it's done, but I think it will probably be remembered for the way it set the foundation, not only for Warzone 2, but probably for the sort of future of the franchise. This sort of IW9 game engine is almost certainly going to be the bedrock of everything to come. So yeah, it's exciting. It is really exciting, and it is a wonderful game. COD has been a bit up in the air for a couple of years, and it just feels like Infinity Ward had a really clear vision in terms of the core gameplay, and as a place to start, I think it's really solid.
Fantastic stuff. What star rating did you give it?
Modern Warfare 2 gets 4 stars out of 5.
There it is. Let us know down in the comments what you think of Modern Warfare 2 and what guns you're most looking forward to using in Warzone 2 when it finally launches. This has been GamesRadar. Subscribe to the YouTube channel so you don't miss any of our future games coverage, and we'll see you on the next one.